Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Saturday, joining January the 24th. And welcome to our commentary. Well, bad news out of Minneapolis again. We've got other topics to get to today, but bad news out of Minneapolis. Apparently, somebody tried to shoot ICE or agents of ICE, and they. I haven't seen the video, but some reliable sources are saying that the guy shot first. And again, this should not be happening. And it's happening because the local politicians, the mayor and the governor, are allowing this to happen. The police should be out there protecting ICE. The police should be out there. And the National Guard should be out there ensuring that this kind of stuff doesn't happen. You've got mobs in the streets who are interfering with ICE, and ICE is doing the job they're legally able to do. This is a federal agency whose job it is to enforce immigration laws. And yet the local authorities get in the way. They promote these demonstrations. They promote these people out in the streets, encouraging them with all kinds of bad stuff, bad language about ICE. So this is on the mayor and on the governor. And frankly, I think we may have reached the point now, honestly, where maybe President Trump is going to have to simply say, you know what? I'm bringing in I'm activating the Insurrection Act, and I'm going in. Because if the governor of Minnesota doesn't want to keep order, if the mayor of Minneapolis doesn't want to keep order, if they're not going to have their police out there, at the very least defending the ICE agents or making sure that you don't have these mobs of people out there, if they're not going to do that, then I'm sorry. But you got to bring in the Insurrection Act and let President Trump run it. Because I know if you bring in the soldiers that this garbage is going to stop. But, I'm sure you're going to hear all day about the man who was killed, and that's unfortunate. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. I guarantee you that ICE doesn't want that. But at the same time, I mean, come on. We're putting these agents in harm's way and that's all happening because the mayor and the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota have decided to play politics with this. And that's unacceptable. Unacceptable, totally, completely unacceptable. So I'm sure we'll get more information as the day goes by on what's going on out there. But the governor, at the very least, should call on the National Guard, put the National Guard on the streets so that this kind of stuff doesn't go on. Very easy to stop it. All you have to do is protect the ICE agents who are doing their federal job. So what a travesty what's going on in Minneapolis, and it's on the shoulders and in the hands of this is their stuff. They've created this mess by promoting this lawlessness and by somehow acting against ICE as if ICE was some kind of a, as they like to call it, Gestapo or whatever they call it. I mean, come on. I mean, please, let's stop this garbage. And maybe President Trump is the only one who can do it with the Insurrection Act. Maybe that's what it's going to take. I was hoping it didn't have to get there. But, when you see stuff like this going on in the streets, you see the videos of these people attacking ICE. And where's the local police? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Because they're being told not to support or defend ICE. I guarantee you that the police could have their way. They'd be out there protecting their fellow officers with ICE, but for whatever reason, they're not doing it. And that's on the mayor of Minneapolis for promoting this kind of crazy lawlessness. So, my goodness, what a mess. What a mess up there. What a mess in Minneapolis. And it's all been created by the local politicians who would rather have a fight with Trump than do their job in keeping law and order in their communities. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about winter today. Winter's here, at least what we call winter in Texas. We're getting a lot of rain right now. The temperatures are down to I guess about 22 degrees right now. It's going to be dropping more tonight. So that's why they fear there's going to be a lot of ice on the streets. And there is already ice on some of the streets, some of the bridges and highways and so on. So the best thing to do on this Saturday and Sunday, the best thing to do this weekend, if you're in North Texas, is to stay in and have some warm soup and watch a little TV, maybe do a podcast and enjoy yourself that way, because everything out there is pretty dangerous. That's all I can tell you. You know, there are people, of course, who have to work today, and many of them are obviously policemen and hospitals and so on, and we appreciate their work extremely. I have a post over at the American Thinker today talking about what is happening in Latin America. You know, Latin America has been electing a lot of governments, center-right governments. Over the last few months, you had it started in Argentina, then Paraguay, Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, and it appears that the next one in line is going to be Colombia, where by all indications, the next president of Colombia, I think their elections are coming up in June. The next president of Colombia is going to be a man from the right who's already talking very, very tough about putting down criminals. You know, everybody in Latin America sees what's happened in El Salvador, and they're looking at El Salvador and they're saying, you know, 5 years ago, this was the murder capital of the world. And today the streets are safe. The business people are happy. There's no extortion. Everybody is going on their business. Why is that? Because President Bukele, the president of El Salvador, came up with a very novel idea. He said, we're going to lock up criminals. If you're in gang warfare, if you're killing each other, we're going to lock you up. And it's worked extremely well. It's worked extremely well. El Salvador today is a country, peaceful country. Talk to people from El Salvador. Don't talk to me. Talk to people from El Salvador who are just, you know, so pleased with what's happening to their country that just a few years ago was the murder capital of the world. Well, people in Latin America are seeing that, and they're saying that's what we want. And they're electing presidents and leaders who are promising a tough position against crime. And Colombia, as I write in my article today at American Thinker, is going to be the next one, and that's good news for the people of Colombia. I have a post coming out tomorrow about public schools. I just read a story, and I link to that story in my post, that more and more parents are taking their kids out of Chicago public schools. Now, this is a national pattern. This isn't just Chicago. A lot of other cities are having this phenomenon where parents are looking at public schools and saying, we don't like what we see, and we're going to take our kids out. And they're doing that at a great sacrifice to the parents, because, you know, very often they have to put them in religious schools or private schools. Obviously, they have to pay for that on top of the taxes they already pay for the public schools. So it's a difficult task for many parents. Now, here in Texas, we have school choice that will be going into effect this year. That's going to help a lot of parents with kids. But the problem is, in many of these cities, and Chicago is the best example of this, you have a mayor who obviously doesn't care about anything other than blaming Trump. You have a governor who doesn't care about anything except, you know, he's running for president, and he wants to be as far to the left as he can be, because that's what it takes to be nominated by the Democrats these days. And as far as school is concerned, he doesn't care because his kids went to private schools. So what does he care about public schools? And then you have a teachers union that apparently their solution to every problem is to say that they need more money. So, you know, the parents are caught in this nightmare, in this total, complete nightmare, where their kids are going to schools. They're not learning to read and write. They're learning about a lot of things that have nothing to do with reading and writing, political stuff, political doctrines, but they're not learning how to read and write, which is what they need to be learning. So the parents are saying, hey, we're out. And we're out. And that's what you're seeing in Chicago and lots of other places as well. Again, this is a local problem. So if you're stuck in a city run by the Democrats, I'm sorry, there's not much anybody can do for you. But hopefully, if you have a chance to move out of those cities, or, you know, maybe move to another state, if you can swing it, that might be better, because the school systems are better in other places, and namely because the schools are being run for the benefit of the children, not for the benefit of the teachers union or the politicians. Well, we go back in history today to 1965. Winston Churchill passed away on this day, one of the great men of the 20th century, of course. He was born in 1874. Great trivia question about his mother. His mother was actually an American citizen, and his father was a member of Parliament. I think he was in the House of Lords in the Parliament, and may have been at one time a candidate for prime minister, although I'm not 100% about that. But Winston Churchill, of course, became the great leader of England during World War II. Some of the greatest speeches ever delivered in the English language were delivered by Prime Minister Churchill, and some really interesting books that he wrote. It's incredible how many books he wrote, especially after he left politics. One of the most interesting ones is the one about World War II, where he wrote about some of the lessons of World War II. So we remember today one of the big ones, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who passed away on this day in 1965. Again, he was born in 1874. Thank you for listening. If you're in North Texas, just sit before the computer or the TV or read a book today, because that's about as much as you're going to be able to do with the way the weather is out there. Have a great day, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas.